Hello everyone, welcome to URBONUS podcast. I'm the host Donatas URBONUS and I'm joined by my two colleagues, Augustas Šuliauskas and Rytis Vyšniauskas. Welcome to the show, guys.
Happy to be here.
Very happy to be here.
Amazing, perfect, wonderful, tremendous.
And first of all, before we start, I have to say that your last episode with Eric McCollum and Mike James was so awesome. Probably
Thanks,
the
man.
best EuroLeague content I've ever heard. And really, Eric continues to surprise me. I mean, if I was in charge of a basketball club, I would definitely hire him as my GM. And if I was in charge of a big media corporation that's broadcasting basketball content, I would definitely put him as my top-notch analyst. So really, he has everything. And Mike, it's wonderful to see and hear an active EuroLeague player just giving his honest takes. Because usually if you talk to active EuroLeague players, they wouldn't want to give you their opinions about the coaches, other players, and other teams. And Mike James just
keeps it real.
He says what he sees, and that's awesome. Really, that was a great podcast.
Yeah, I think that Eric one day he will just steal a job from us.
For sure.
I think he could have
not from us.
Maybe we'll have this job here in Lithuania, but
he should have a basketball show with his brother.
Exactly, that's his goal. Actually, I was so surprised when I made this interview with him last September. He told that he wants to make a career, in broadcasting business. So
CJ was great on ESPN First Take.
Yeah.
I saw.
They both share kind of the same mentality, knowledge. Even they speak even the same way.
Yeah,
and it's obvious they're so close. They spend the off season together as well. So no, he's just amazing. And regarding to Mike, I just hope that he also had a good time in the pod. I think he had, because I don't remember him being on the pod or any other show being so positive, involved, energetic. No hoodies, no dark lights around. I mean, it was perfect. He was at his peak. Yeah,
Mike James is a legend, really, and when he was talking about Nick Caladia's situation, it was excellent content.
Exactly.
I mean, he explained the situation, the way he looks at it, and the breakdown was really great. I never really thought to myself it was that Nick Caladias doesn't fit the system, or how he said it. And you're hearing it from an active EuroLeague player. You're not hearing it from you,
even from Eric, who's not playing in EuroLeague.
Yeah.
From someone who actually played against him,
and will play against him
and
next season
Barcelona
and the season after, probably. Yeah, and he's gonna play against Barcelona, against Charas, and everybody else. But it's nothing personal. It's just basketball.
Yeah.
He still knows it better. He played against those teams, so he's been on the court.
Yeah, and I actually highly recommend to listen to his pod. He was on the Players' Choice show. I think it's co-hosted by Shaq McKissick from Olympiacos. They had more in-depth conversation about his career and about Mike's career and approach on things. So it was also another unique content. So I really recommend to listen to that episode. And I just hope that this presence of Mike in the pod will inspire him to, return to the show during the season, for example, because I think that he also liked it. And, me and Eric, we also enjoyed it.
So shout out to both guys. Really, it's great to have two top-level professionals talking basketball on your show, and probably for you as well. It must have been a great experience.
Amazing experience. My job was just not to disturb the conversation, just to keep the flow, and that's it.
I liked the moment when Eric asked you, "What do you like about Satoransky's game?"
And Eric, you saw his face. He was so curious about it.
In a way that was more obvious.
They don't respect international basketball. They told that they are not watching EuroBasket or World Cup. So
Eric just felt that you were the weak link on that discussion, and he thought I have to crush him with my arguments.
Yeah.
No, but honestly,
it was a mismatch situation. But
what did you like? What do you like about Satoransky?
So he doesn't defend as well as Nick. He's inconsistent shooting
and those were
3-pointers.
great points. You cannot argue with that.
True. But then I kind of thought that I should have defended Thomas a bit better, because, we underestimated his driving abilities, and Charas likes players who can drive inside and create from there, even if you're not the greatest creator. There are great qualities that you can watch on FIBA competitions, for example, that Satoransky brings to the team.
Right now, Tomas Satoransky is probably on top of my list of players that will sadly miss the upcoming EuroBasket. It seems that he's
It's a
not
game
going to
changer.
play for Czech Republic, so it's a huge blow for that team.
Yeah.
I think they could cope without Wesley, as we saw in 2019, but without Sato, I don't see them going very far.
Yeah, and yeah, that's where we have to talk about FIBA basketball, because we're just 1 week away from the EuroBasket competition. And for today's podcast, we have basically two major topics. One, we'll try to rank top 8 EuroBasket teams, and then in the end of the show, we will share our prediction of the top 4, sorting by order from the first to the 4th place, and we will try to predict the gold medalist team. So let's start with the ranking, which sounds fun. When I kind of thought about this topic for this pod, I was like, oh, it's gonna be fun, but it's so hard to make this power ranking because you have to combine so many different things, and in the end, I was like back and forth with half of my selections, like 5 minutes away from the podcast. I might change my selection during the pod. So this is how hard it is, because not just the ranking as itself is a hard thing, but at the same time, this EuroBasket is going to be so open, just like the FIBA Secretary General Andreas Zaglis told, that it's so hard to predict who's going to win, because we have great pool of superstars at first and a lot of equal teams. So it's going to be fun.
Yeah, so we should start from number 8, right?
Yeah. And
Augustus, you want to go first?
Okay, Augustus, let's go.
I had 3 choices for the last place in our ranking, but I have to go with Spain at number 8 spot. And it's weird to rank Spain here.
The world champions.
Yeah, exactly.
But simply they just don't have enough talent this year on their roster. And my choice was between Croatia, Germany, and them for the last spot. And I still think Sergio Scariolo is going to be the difference here. And they took Lorenzo Brown, and with him, I imagine them making the quarterfinals. And I think he is going to lead this team of a lot of, let's say, not the top tier Spanish players to a quarterfinal at least.
Actually, when you look, for example, Lorenzo Brown, I think is crucial. I also have Spain as my 8th choice.
I have them at 7? No, I forgot.
I think you didn't have them. In
No, I have
8.
them.
Oh,
I'm thinking. Oh yeah, I have them at number 8 as well.
okay,
Right,
okay,
really.
yeah, because
I thought 7, but then no.
yeah, it's
But no.
it's crazy. It sounds, world champions
Number 8.
barely made the top 8 because they were our great.
And it
teams
just says
here.
to the competitiveness of the tournament we're having.
But it's more about
Spain not having
being hurt and damaged. I mean, they're missing the best point guard in the competition.
Their
Ricky
golden
Rubio.
generation,
Except from Luka Doncic.
their
I'm not
golden
talking Doncic,
generation
gone.
stepped down. Right, we only have Sergio Llull and Rudy Fernandez left, but right now they are just role
They
players.
should be
on this
backups
team.
for this team.
They are backups. I mean, the veteran presence is probably very important in the locker room in the whole process, but on the court, they're very limited. And this team is so dependent on Lorenzo Brown playing his pick and rolls with Villar and Gomez. These are the only 2 really top quality players that they have, because all the others, Juancho Hernan Gomez, or if you go deeper, you find guys like Jaime Fernandez, Dario Brisella, and all the others. Those are not proven players on this stage. So in my opinion, this whole team is based on Lorenzo Brown playing enormous amount of pick and roll actions with Villar and Gomez, and that's all they have to offer.
The way they did against Spain in the second
against
half.
Lithuania.
Against Lithuania in the second half.
Every single possession, and since Lithuania has Jonas Valanciunas dropping, Lorenzo always has the floater.
And a lot of teams are going to be dropping.
Yeah. The problem for Spain, in my opinion, is not only the roster. I mean, if you look at the Group A, they're going to compete for a first seed with Turkey. Their problem is whether they finish first or second in their group. Immediately in the 8th final, they're going to face a team like Germany or Lithuania. So going to the quarterfinals is going to be difficult. We can put them number 8 in power rankings, but I'm not really certain that they're going to be in the top 8 in the tournament, actually. So those 2 teams that Augustus mentioned, they're probably honorable mentions on my list as well, Germany and Croatia. I would have Germany in top 8 if they had the full roster. Right now, there are just too many question marks. They're lacking guys like Moritz Wagner, Maxi Kleba, Thibaut Pleiss. Even Dennis Schroeder now has some problems.
Yeah, Hartenstein, Isaac Bonga.
Yeah.
I mean, we could make another German team actually
At least
for the
from the
competition.
bigs.
Yeah.
So, and they're playing at home. So naturally, with the full roster, I could see them in the top 8. With Croatia, my problem is another thing. Chemistry issues. All the time, every single year. Every time they qualify for the tournament, it seems like there's something wrong with this team. You see those names. These are big names like Hezonja, Bogdanovic, Zubac, Šarić, even though we don't know what's his shape right now. But I just don't really trust them.
You mentioned Spain and their experience in the locker room.
Yeah.
I think that's what Croatia...
And Scariolo.
And Scariolo.
Yeah.
I think that's what Croatia is missing. Exactly. Like
Probably.
Because
make
if
that
they
jump-
had that, they could be, competing for the top 4 position with a good, favorable bracket, really.
Yeah. You
I mean, they
could,
have enough
you
talent
could make
on
the
the court.
case. You could make the case for them making the top 4.
So right now, I agree with you guys about Spain. It's hard to rule them out just because of the past, probably. But you still have to realize and accept the reality. This is not a team with Gasol brothers, Navarro, Calderon, Chacho,
So far
and
from
all
it.
the other guys. This is just a team being led by Lorenzo Brown. And I mean, if not Lorenzo, you would see a team probably led by Juan Nunez already,
and
even
Quino
though he's
Colon.
not ready
Yeah.
yet. So, yeah.
Yeah, because on their core they have Willihan Gomez. We cannot forget Usman Garuma, but he's coming off a difficult season in Houston. A lot of injuries as well. Juancho, Rudy, Sergio Llull, and Lorenzo Brown. I mean, it's tough. It's gonna be tough, but at the same time, you cannot underestimate the heart of the champion. Kind of the same was with Real Madrid. They kind of remind me of Real Madrid a lot. They had injury problems. They had problems with backcourt facilitators. I would say many people ruled them out. But, having coach like Sergio Scariolo, we saw what he did last year in Tokyo Olympics where they were weaker team than Slovenia, for example. But he used so many different tactical things to stop Slovenians and Luka Doncic that you can trust this coach in competitions like that. But the other teams, they're just so better talent-wise, so it's gonna be tough. And even Scariolo, I had the conversation with him after the game against Lithuania, and from his face you could see that he just accepts the situation and he goes there just to be the best version of this team that you can make.
That was an amazing quote for him.
About Slovenia,
watching Serbia, Slovenia.
That was amazing.
And that's true. They're missing this superstar talent, and when you watch Slovenia and Serbia, you just can get depressed. So, but what I like that this group, they still had that fighter mentality, because even though they lost 3 or 4 friendly games, in most games they were kind of competitive. Even against Lithuania, they came back from a 17-point deficit.
But it should be a really interesting experience for Scariolo, because he never went to any international tournament as an underdog. He always went there as a favorite.
Spain was always
coaching
team
Spain because
to beat.
this team was always stacked. I remember in 2011 in Lithuania, I saw a team with Gasol brothers and Serge Ibaka on top of that. And with all these point guards and shooting guards they had, it was ridiculous, really. And they were the closest to Team USA as you could be at that time. So he was always coaching Spain when they were favorites for every EuroBasket. They were reaching the semifinals, I believe, in every EuroBasket in the 21st century so far. And right now it's different. Right now he's sort of approaching this tournament as an underdog.
Yeah,
it never happened in Sergio Scariolo's career. It never happened.
We're questioning
for
if
Spain.
they're gonna make the quarterfinals, which sounds crazy.
We're questioning if they are capable of beating Turkey for the first seed, and we're probably favoring Turkey. So it will be interesting to see how Scariolo handles it. It's not like he has something to prove. He proven everything on this stage already.
They don't have anything to lose. And, Sergio is playing that. I think he's Sergio. Because
Sergio, he's
from
Italian.
Italy. Yeah. My bad.
Rodriguez is Sergio.
Yeah.
The tricky part, because there's...
And then you have
always
Sergio
there.
Busquets because he's Catalan.
Good language
only
lesson,
for you,
Catalan,
really.
Spanish, Italian lesson for you guys.
Sorry, man.
But the thing that it seems like he's already using media, as a platform to tell everybody that, we should decrease
you should
our
lower your
expectations.
expectations.
They're trying to play that dark horse let's say, role in this situation, and he's doing smart job. I just noticed a lot of people, kind of repeating the same idea on Twitter. But by the way, you mentioned all these great players from 2011. I think that the friendly game we had last week in Vilnius, I believe that more than a half people or almost entire Germ was surprised when they saw Spanish national team roster and guys on the court, because they don't follow national team basketball that much. And I believe that watching these role players on the court competing against our team and, us being kind of big favorites in that game, I think that people were really surprised.
Augustus, who would you see in this Spanish team as a third option? Like, we have Lorenzo Brown, obviously, as the leader, Villar and Gomez as a really solid center who can do a lot of things for them. Who is the third guy, in your opinion? Is it Juancho? Is he good enough for that role?
Juancho was always good, but when he had bigger talent around. I mean, he was great helper, asset on a good team. For example, I like him a lot in 2019.
Like, I like him off the ball more. Like, I like him making plays when others create him the advantage, because he's tall, he can shoot the free, he can drive. So at the free,
he's a good defender.
Their position, I like that. But I think Sergio Yui still. I mean,
still has it in him.
Who else?
It's not. I think it's more about that there's nothing around
that's why
him.
I have a name. I think he might surprise us. It's Jaime Fernandez.
He's great.
Skilled.
He was great in the friendly games.
In the friendly games, I also covered some of his ACB League games. He has a lot of skill, actually. He has a really good crossover. He can shoot off the dribble, and he can score. He can put some points for them.
Yeah.
So I could see him as the guy who steps up in the tournament. Because Sergio Yui, I'm not really convinced that he still has it in him, honestly.
But
we'll see.
Will the other Spain players give Jaime Fernandez the ball instead of Sergio Yui if Lorenzo Brown is on the bench, let's say, but he's going to be on the bench for like 5 minutes. But let's say he's not at the end of the game. Are you going to give the ball to Jaime Fernandez? I'm not sure about that.
Probably not. Probably
But
Sergio still has too much respect.
Too much respect. He can still do some things, maybe not at the high level that he was before, but...
Anyway, they're good enough to overcome Belgium, Bulgaria, Montenegro, Georgia.
I really enjoyed their defense. Like, especially in the second half against Lithuania in Vilnius here, they were just aggressively catching Lithuania, especially the point guards with the ball. We had trouble crossing the half court. We had trouble on pick and rolls. They were passing over and really close. We had a lot of trouble, like Marius Grigonis, even on the last possession when Brazdeki scored. He caught the ball and he had to throw it back for Iggy to make the play. So I think that's, together with Lorenzo Brown making plays for himself and for others, the defense will be the, let's say, cornerstone of their success or not.
Right, we've spent a lot of time talking about number 8.
We had to show some respect to Spain, So number 7.
Now I think we're going to have some differences probably, right?
Could be.
So
everyone has Lithuania at number 7.
No, I don't. You do? You have Lithuania?
I have Lithuania at number 7.
So let's talk about Lithuania then.
Why
number 7?
Number 7 because I'm not simply a believer of the basketball we are playing. And we didn't play friendly games against really high quality teams. And we are immediately playing Slovenia, France, and Germany in the first 3 games.
Yeah.
The spacing is still bad. I see different ways how Kazis Maskvitis is trying to integrate both Sabonis and Valančiūnas together, but it's simply not there. We play a lot of set plays for them, and I know coach likes the free game, likes the improvisation. But it's just sometimes too much of it. JB and Sabonis likes to just simply ask for the ball in the paint and try to make it someone on their own. And for other players, it's sometimes hard because they don't know when and where to expect it. So they don't know where to be on the court at the moment. And we saw a lot of some memes in Lithuania with Sabonis and Valančiūnas asking the ball 1 meter away from the other in the paint at the same place against Spain. So I don't think it's going to work, and because we have such a strong group, we're probably gonna get Serbia or Greece in the quarterfinal
If we go there.
Yeah.
If we get there.
If we get there. So I just don't see this team making a huge run, let's say. This is a good team, and we know our strengths, and it is right to play through these two guys. But I just don't see this. Like, I'm looking other teams, how they're scoring easily. For example, Slovenia, and it's just, wow. It's just...
The problem is
about the quality in the perimeter, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's what we're lacking.
And I think the problem is that all these our perimeter guys like Jokubaitis, Brazdeikis, Gronis, they also need a lot of space because they prefer to penetrate. Okay, except from Giannis, he tends to be a step back shooter. But I mean,
he's still attacking the paint first guy.
Yeah, exactly. So and there's no space when you already have Sabonis and Valanciunas. And watching all these games, although we took all 6 wins, I just didn't see that clicking and watching that kind of good flow of the game. I just didn't see that.
Estonia, Finland without Markkanen and Netherlands.
You played Estonia 4 times, basically. You can say that.
You can say that. But yeah, it's fair to say that. I'm kind of curious to hear your take on this because there's a very popular opinion right now in Lithuania that we will only see the best of Domantas Sabonis in the national team when Jonas Valanciunas steps down. Would you agree with that or not?
But he's going to be how old is he going to be when JV?
I'm not
steps
sure
down,
how
you mean he will.
I'm not sure how long JV is going to be the main center.
Yeah.
Like for 2 more tournaments, maybe.
He's 30 now.
I think so.
1992,
He's 92.
yeah.
So.
But it means steps down is as a backup center role means stepping down,
or at least
just leading the national
team. There's
team.
like a tournament which Jonas Valanciunas decides to skip, and it would be like Sabonis' team. Do you think it would benefit Domantas Sabonis as a basketball player? I'm not talking about personality issues; they don't have any. I'm talking about basketball things.
I think I think you need as many shooters as you can have on the court with him.
And you just put him at 5, and
you would just put him at a 5. Yeah, I think so. And it's simply like, let's say Lithuania tries to play a lot of pick and roll up top with one guy setting the screen and the other being in a dunker spot under. And one is rolling and the other is moving from one dunker spot to the other side of the paint. And both of these guys, basically the guy who is standing under the basket can defend the roll and the guy who is near. Obviously, you may be going to be a little bit late, but with them, these 2 guys shooting just hooks around the rim, it's just too crowded there. So I don't see them working together like efficiently.
And also defense, let's not forget about that. Because with Domantas, he's probably the only center we have that can function in the switch-all defense.
Yeah. And he switched on Lorenzo Brown.
We saw
that was a great defense.
Yeah,
that was great footwork, amazing footwork, really. And the problem with JV is obvious. Every team tries to expose him with their pick and rolls. I remember the 2019 World Cup, what Fournier and DeColo were doing. And it's just difficult. I mean,
Luka's killed us
last year with Slovenia.
And it's going to be
Luka, but
the same with Slovenia this season, this tournament. The same with France because they still have Fournier, Kobo, Ertel, all these players, and even Germany with Modolo and Schroeder. They will always try to expose Jonas Valanciunas on the pick and roll, and there's no other way to defend other than drop because he cannot step out, he cannot switch, so that's the only option. And it's just the reality of national team basketball that coaches face. You have great players in one position, and then you lack players in other positions, and you're just trying to fit everybody into some system.
Blessing in disguise. Like, you have great players, but they simply don't, let's say, not...
They don't function as well.
Hardly fit together.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And
anyway, I have Lithuania at number 6, actually. So we're going to stay probably with this topic for a little while. I'm going to say my number 7 later on. But I think that Lithuania has some potential to surprise everybody, plainly because they can even go deep from the 4th seed. Even if they finish in the 4th place in their Group B, they're going to face Spain or Turkey in the 8 finals. Then the quarterfinals, there will be a playable opponent, I would say.
Croatia, probably.
So with some luck, they could get to the semifinal.
That's actually probably better to finish fourth.
Yeah, that's the weird
thing
thing with this FIBA system, that sometimes it's better for you to lose and finish fourth than to win and finish third. Anyways, I think this team has some potential. There are certain players that have a lot to prove, like Brasdeikis, for example, or Rokas Jokubaitis. He's gonna be a leading point guard in this first ever EuroBasket, even though I think Grigonis is the main creator for this team on offense, not Jokubaitis.
Jokubaitis is probably going to be the first point guard of the team for the first time in his career, because even in Žalgiris, he wasn't the starting point guard.
He was sort of put in the shooting guard position.
And it's also a huge pressure, for a young
they
guy
were
like
playing like two guards.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we're putting too much expectations, because we were kind of, sure that, that's great that, we're going to have Jokubaitis as a main point guard, but at the same time, I mean, he's just 21 years old. He was taking that backup role in Barcelona, and every time you kind of have a good game, it's already like he's an overachiever. Now he have to deliver every time, especially when Lukas Lekavičius is struggling in the preparation game. So, and I mean, we have to be honest, we weren't very, let's say, super happy about Jokubaitis in the preseason of the EuroBasket, let's say.
I mean, there were even more concerns talking about Lekavičius.
Oh, yeah.
So
the good thing is that he's a backup. The bad thing is that we need Kristupas Žemaitis as the third point guard, because the control of the team sometimes, it's not consistent.
I mean, our problem is that the team is not very well balanced. It's a nice team. You have nice players, but the balance is not there. And I'm still looking forward to our team, because I think they can play at some certain periods beautiful basketball. When they play, for example, Rokas Giedraitis, knowing his shooting abilities, if he gets hot, and you have Grigonis also there. And
do you think he starts?
Well, those two games against Spain probably answer the question. I think he should start. He feels better when he starts. If his first couple of buckets
You're talking Brasdeikis right now.
Giedraitis.
Yeah.
Rokas Giedraitis.
We need a shooter in this lineup.
Brasdeikis, for him, it doesn't seem to be a problem whether he steps off the bench or he starts.
Because his coach Maxitis didn't like it.
What do you think?
The game he was coming off the bench against Spain, it didn't work that well, let's say, in the first half of him.
The second half, I mean, he just missed open shots. That was the problem. But Rokas Giedraitis is a very specific player that needs to feel the rhythm.
I think he needs to be in the starting line.
I think so as well. I mean, then you're choosing what you want to have. Butkevičius for defensive purposes, or Brasdeikis to have some balance for the second unit. Grigonis can be the sixth man, but he's obviously playing in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
So these are nice problems to have. But Rokas Giedraitis, for me, he's a starter. He needs to be there. He needs to feel the basketball as soon as possible. He needs to get his shots, and if he hits a couple, then he's going to be hot, and he's going to be a problem for other teams.
Especially with the way Lithuania is trying to play this summer. More running, more Domantas Sabonis pushing the ball and finding open teammates. So I think that's a must starting lineup position for him.
So for me, Lithuania is number 6. For you, Donatas, you have it.
I also have them as number 7.
Also number 7.
At first, I was thinking about it as my 6th seed, let's say, but in the last moment, I just put them in the 7th place. And they're just missing shooters badly. So you must play Giedraitis in the starting lineup. And
we have guys that can shoot the ball, but not like consistently.
Yeah, but exactly. And, you mentioned Sabonis as the starting center, and I love this idea. And I really think that, in big games and big minutes, Sabonis should be definitely closing games. And Valančiūnas could deliver, from a backup position, like giving 15 solid minutes.
They are not, these two are going to be on the court at the closing minutes.
Well,
but the thing is that, okay, even talking about the future, we're kind of calm that Sabonis is going to be a starting center, but at the same time, who's going to be the stretch 4 in this team? Who we're going to have as a pure shooters growing up for the national team? Even now, we have players like Egidius Žukauskas
in there as a 4.
I like him. I like Egidius Žukauskas a lot for his physicality, for his versatility defensively mainly, but at the same time, he's a lock in the Lithuanian national team, and it tells a lot. And we're waiting for Mindaugas Kuzminskas until the very last moment before the EuroBasket. I think that tells a lot about the depth in this position and the stretch 4s we're missing.
Yeah, but I mean, if we're going to have success, it's not going to be because of stretch 4 players.
No, but it helps a lot of spacing.
Comes from the perimeter players, and in our case, it just happens to be the bigs. it is what it is. I actually like the idea that Linas Kleiza brought, a former Lithuanian national team leader. He said that we have two of our best players in, you could say, the same position, but I need to have one of them on the court all the time. So it's better for the balance of the team if they both play the fifth position.
Yeah.
And Valančiūnas, for example, accepts a lesser role with like 16 or 18 minutes where he dominates the first quarter and the third quarter, but then the crunch time you're going to play with Domantas as your number 5, and it could benefit the team, actually, in my opinion. And
I think it's the only way.
Because another thing is you're trying to start all of your best players together, but our second unit is just not good enough. Honestly, I just don't see Martynas Echodas being a reliable center at this level.
I think our second unit could be really good if we had Valančiūnas or Sabonis all the time on the court. And, for example, we should switch Brazdeikis and Grigonis. I think that they both don't feel on the court as well as they would play separately. And if in both lineups you have, for example, Grigonis and Sabonis or Grigonis and Valančiūnas, in the other lineup, Brazdeikis and Sabonis, for example, I think it's great.
Anything to add?
They will play, like Echodas will not play. Like Sabonis and Valančiūnas will play, will occupy all the 80 minutes, all the 40 minutes at the center spot. That's for sure.
It should be like that.
But they will play much more than 16, 18 minutes, both of them.
Yep.
So we're going to have to see them together, at least for, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes per game.
In 2019, it didn't work. And it's not like Dainius Adomaitis is a bad coach. So I understand your doubts. Why should it work in 2022?
I hope it works.
We're all hoping,
you know.
but we just don't see what's different than it was in 2019. But anyway, let's move on to number 6. So since I have Lithuania at number 6, I first of all have to say my number 7.
Yeah, probably.
And you're going to have them at 6, I believe.
Probably.
It's Italy.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Italy at number 6. At number 7, sorry, man, I'm mixed up. For me, at number 7, just because they don't have a center, they don't have muscle, and that's where Lithuania would have an advantage against them if they face each other. And the other thing is that last year, when they had success, when they qualified for the Olympics, Nico Mannion was a huge X factor. Right now, he's starting to look in decent shape, but he's probably not going to be as good as he was a year ago. Other than that, I like this team. I like their chemistry. Last year, they showed really great chemistry on the court. They have very smart veteran players like Gallinari and Meli that sort of make up for the lack of a real center that can play in the paint. They play beautiful basketball. When they're attacking, all 5 guys can shoot. You have smart players that can create from every position. You have a glue guy like Simone Fontecchio.
He's not a glue guy. He's the leader of that team.
He's the best player in that team.
I meant the glue guy, like he connects the guards with the centers.
Yeah.
So he's the leader, of course. I agree with that. And what a jump he made in his career so quickly.
It's amazing.
So it's a great team. I have them at number 7, but again, it wouldn't surprise me if they go deep in the tournament just because of the good chemistry, what Italy was lacking for a long time. For a lot of tournaments, they were like Croatia. A lot of guys with big egos, like Bargnani is there, Gallinari, Bellinelli, and it's not a good fit. Right now, it really looks like a real solid basketball team. And an exciting team to watch, in my opinion.
They just have so many good European players on that roster.
Yeah.
Like almost anyone on that roster is like Fontecchio, Mannion, Meli, Datome, Pajola, Polonara, Spisu, Tonut. Like everyone is a good player in their teams. They have big roles. And I think Italy is maybe right now, their limit is like from 5th to 8th. The quarterfinal with the possibility to even make a surprise run at the medals. But I think Italy is an up-and-coming team, which will be really good in the next 10 years. Like, if Paolo Banchero also comes to this team, they're gonna be huge. And
Are you concerned about the center position? I mean, they don't really have
of course,
big, strong guy
Of course.
who can match some of these centers that other teams have.
Of course, yeah, it's a big concern, and that's why you don't put them in the medals probably, because if they had, you are looking probably at one of the deepest rosters in the tournament in my eyes. But now they don't have a center, so I'm not sure if this, let's say, small ball can work towards the medals, but they're my number 6.
Right, for me number 7, and your number 6.
Yeah, I actually have Italy as outside of my top 8.
Outside of the top 8?
Yeah,
wow.
because I was deciding between Spain and Italy.
So
But just because of this championship mentality,
where we start
coaching,
seeing some differences.
Yeah, I really like Italy, and I feel bad for leaving them out. But at the same time, because the main thing is that they always had talent. I mean, we can remember all these teams with Gentile, Bargnani, Bellinelli, Hackett, all the other guys. Probably it was way more talented teams than the current one. But at the same time, we were missing the chemistry between the guys, both on and off the court. And I was surprised the way they, first of all, managed to qualify to the Olympics last year, because we kind of didn't expect that. And the way they competed in the Olympics.
They beat Serbia. Not only beat, they just kicked their ass.
Yeah,
destroyed.
Although,
in
Serbia
Belgrade.
probably had hotel reservations
in
already
Belgrade.
in Tokyo.
And in Tokyo, let's not forget, the quarterfinal they played with France. It was really close.
Yeah.
It was a tough game for France. So Italy was really close to the medal stage.
And Meo Sacchetti did a great job.
Yeah.
I liked the way he was coaching the team, and I was so surprised that they decided to change the coach. Gianmarco Pozzecco is another legend. We all remember this atomic fly. Yeah, from his time with the Italy national team.
Are you trying to remind us of Athens?
2004?
Nah. What
was
are you
the
implying?
worst loss,
team.
probably.
What are you implying?
I'm just saying that that's why I feel bad that I left them out.
So you omitted Italy.
Yeah.
Me and Augustus, we omitted Croatia. Does that mean you have Croatia?
Yeah, I have Croatia.
At number
I'm
6.
a big believer in this
the
Croatia
sleeper
team.
pick.
Exactly. I think that they're sleepers. They're underrated, because I think that now finally it's time that this team, this group of guys, they finally got matured. Mario Hezonja is one of these main examples, because his character, his personality was always questioned. And from what I hear from his last year in Kazan, he was, mentally, he was great. He was playing also for a successful team that Unix was that year. And it's not about Mario Hezonja, who's coming at his peak. He's 27. There's Dario Šarić. Okay, he had a year off due to injury, but in FIBA basketball, after all these friendly games, I think that he will get in shape. He's 28. Ivica Zubac, he's becoming better. He's becoming a solid piece for this Croatian national team. Bojan Bogdanovic, he's 33, but he still has it. And I mean, you have a 5 with Zubac, Šarić, Hezonja, Bogdanovic, and Jalen Smith, which is another incredible addition for the Croatian national team. Although I hate all these naturalized players, the idea of players naturalization.
We don't hate the players themselves.
Exactly. Just to clarify. Yeah, I hate the idea that we're just playing this general manager. But at the same time, Jalen Smith is a perfect fit for this team, because he's a pass-first, defensive-minded guard who also shined in Alba Berlin in the second part of the season. And this group, I mean, it was just what this group needed, actually, from the point guard position. Somebody to be a ball distributor.
Don't you think there's a concern about the depth? I mean,
always.
The bench looks
because
really poor.
Off the bench, I only like Kruno Simon, but he's 37, coming after a difficult year in FS caused by injuries. And I like this guy, Karlo Matkovic. He's the 52nd NBA draft pick of this NBA draft, 21-year-old guy. More of a center, athletic, big, fast, versatile, defensively versatile guy. So the depth will be an issue, but at the same time, they have a lot of talent. And sometimes I think that depth in competitions like EuroBasket is a bit overrated thing. If you remember Slovenia national team, they basically won the
7-man
championship
rotation
with 8 players.
Yeah.
So if the coach Mulamerovic will manage to adjust roles, to adjust some lineups, to give some rest for these main players who are at the great shape, to implement these role players who will be playing on limited minutes, they might be great. And from what I hear, the chemistry so far, of course, until the first big losses are coming, chemistry basically probably is always great.
Yeah.
But so far, everybody's enjoying their time, and of course it's a matter of chemistry. If they will find players who will be willing to sacrifice to play off ball, if they will put all their effort in defense, I think that they can be really great.
Right. Well, I agree that if everything really clicks, they could have some success, but there
There's
are
so many
just
ifs.
too
you
many
know?
ifs.
I was
and
It's
listening-
buts.
one big if,
Too many
actually.
ifs
Only
and
one
buts.
big if.
Nah, for me, it's at least a couple of question marks with Team Croatia. Anyway, Augusta, since we're talking about Croatia, we don't have them in our top 8, but still, I want to ask you this. Bojan Bogdanovic is one of my favorite Croatian players of all time. We've seen him in the Quinn Snyder's Utah Jazz system being put as sort of a stretch 4 guy. I mean, that's the system. It's based on great spacing, but more of a spot-up shooter than in the Croatian national team. He's the slasher. He does everything. He's posting up. He's scoring from the paint. Where do you see him right now when he's 33? Do you think it's Hezonja's team, or is it still Bogdanovic's team?
I think Hezonja has to be the number 1 guy.
Yeah.
And I mean, Jalen Smith is not scoring first. He doesn't.
He's
have
not
this
Lorenzo Brown.
mentality. Yeah. But he also can create a lot for Bogdanovic as well. So we don't know Dario Saric how much in shape he's coming to the tournament. So I imagine him playing some minutes at the 4, and I still think he's a great player. I think he is underrated in Europe because he has spent a lot of time in the NBA. Not a lot of people from Europe who watch NBA watch the Utah Jazz. So I think he is somewhat underappreciated in Europe. And he shines in all of these tournaments, at least individually. So I think Hezonja will be number 1 option on that team. Maybe not, but in my eyes, he should be like a little bit over the.
I'm thinking the same. I'm thinking the same actually, because another thing is that Bogdanovic sort of seems to be declining a little bit. I'm not saying that rapidly declining, but just a little bit. Watching him last year in the Utah Jazz, so Hezonja right now being at his peak, with the confidence being so high as
after
it is,
a season like this,
he has to be the main guy. I agree with you.
And Bogdanovic is such a good spot-up shooter that you don't want to diminish his spot-up shots at the cost of him creating for others.
Yeah, you don't want to overplay him in other situations. I agree completely. Okay, right. So let's move on. Croatia?
Number
Who's your
5?
number 6?
His number 6 is
Italy.
Oh, Italy.
Just like him.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. So number 5.
So wait, we had 3 different teams for number 6.
It appears
Italy,
to be so. Lithuania, Croatia.
Okay.
Number 5 is going to be
Probably the same
Probably
for all
the
of
same,
us,
yeah.
because the big 4 is
because
clear
the
and
big 4
obvious.
is set, yeah.
But number 5 is a really exciting basketball team, and another thing that we should mention is their head coach. He will make all the press conferences much more interesting.
All the headlines.
All the headlines. He's already making the headlines with his statements.
He said the media is not giving him enough attention. Not him, but the team. We are not media is not talking as much as
the funny
it
thing
should
is that
about Turkey.
at least our colleagues from Turkey told that Ataman basically runs the media things. I mean, he controls who can speak, who might be able for media, and usually he tries to put all the focus on himself. And I don't know if he's just trying to protect the team or he just wants to be a main star.
I just love how he's dealing with everything that's around basketball, and then he starts dealing with the basketball issues.
And he leaves the basketball issues for players, basically.
Because you have Shane Larkin on your team once again. Yeah, so Turkey at number 5. I think it's a lock at number 5 because, as I said, the top 4 is very obvious right now. But Turkey...
But if not in power rankings, you could see Turkey
them
in the
semi-final.
4.
Yeah, it's just the power rankings. We're ranking the teams based on our opinions, looking at the rosters, at the potential and everything. But you have the brackets, and some teams will clash with each other. And Turkey could go to the semi-finals. First of all, I definitely see them winning Group A, overcoming Spain, and the core that they have. And I mean, it's just a well-put, modern basketball team with Shane Larkin as your point guard.
ball handler, let's say.
scorer,
Yeah.
ball handler,
Yeah.
Creator,
right?
whatever.
Yeah. Whatever you want to put some labels. Yeah, probably
Yeah.
scorer or ball handler is better than just the point guard. You have Shane Larkin. He's unstoppable in FIBA basketball, and he's unstoppable when he's playing against those bigs with drop coverage.
Yeah. He had a hard time so far. He was averaging only 4 points
I
per
know
game,
that
but he will get there.
Those
Yeah, for
friendlies,
sure.
but
He's just
I don't pay
saving
too
himself.
much attention
Yeah.
to that. Then you have a guy that I think is very underrated. It's Cedi Osman.
Mm.
He's so good in European basketball. He can play as a 4, as a 3. He can defend all multiple positions. The skill set he has on offense
be
is
a
also
playmaker
amazing.
for a team
He can
easily.
create. He can shoot. He can drive. He can do everything. Then you have a pure shooter in Furkan Korkmaz.
Who was hot in the friendlies.
Very hot. His numbers are crazy. And then you have the Turkish Nikola Jokic
Mm.
at the number 5. So it's a great team, and also like guys, you have guys like Sertaç Şanlı as the second option at the center
Can
position.
stretch the floor, yeah.
They don't even miss Yurtseven that much, I believe. When you have Şanlı and Şengün,
I think that
What-
they miss every solid player because their bench is not
I mean,
very
they're not a
solid.
very deep team. I
Yeah.
agree, but once again, we come back to your statement.
Exactly, yeah.
7-8 man rotation is enough
Yeah,
in a tournament
and
like
if you
this.
have Hazar, Mamutoglu on the bench, Shanli, for example, it's already okay for your team, especially with all
I
these
mean,
stars.
the starting lineup has enormous potential.
The only problem I see is, the forward position at the 4.
Mhm.
Like, you don't have someone you can count on there. You have other players filling from other positions, and together with the short roster that they have, that might be a problem. Just in my eyes. But overall, Turkey is my sleeper pick. Not even to go to the semifinals, not even to be in the top 4, but maybe even talk about the medals.
I wonder what
Nice.
Ersan Ilyasova is up to these days. Maybe he could play 15 minutes.
Lace up and just stay in the corner, and
Yeah,
that
because
would be.
I think he was 30 years old for like 10 years in a row. So maybe he could still do a job for this team.
And Turkey is playing let's say not the same, because let's give some respect, but really very, very, very similar game to what Anadolu is playing.
It's just that they
offensively.
don't have Micic.
Yeah,
they
it's
just
just
have Larkin.
Other players. Yeah.
Yeah.
They have Larkin and they
They
have
have Jedi.
Osman.
Yeah.
But they're an exciting team. Honestly,
And probably, like you said, Ritis, the team who wins the Group A probably is going to
They're playing
have
the semifinals.
the best path, let's
Yeah.
say, to the semifinal.
they might face like Germany, for example.
Yeah.
And if
And
Turkey
then-
plays Germany in Berlin, let's not think that Germans will be dominating the stands. I think the Turkish people will be louder. So playing in Germany is a real
Tricky thing.
is a real good thing for the Turkish team, I think. And
Potentially in the quarterfinal, you have Croatia, and then second of Group D, which could be any one of 4: Poland, Czech Republic, Finland, and
very beatable opponents.
Yeah, exactly.
Very beatable. And the thing with Turkey is that ever since I was following basketball, Turkey had success only when they played at home. And Berlin is as close as it
close as
gets.
possible, yeah.
As close as it gets to playing in Istanbul.
outside of Turkey.
yeah. So we'll see, but I'm really excited to see them. I'm excited to go to some of Ergin Ataman's press conferences. He just makes the team even more interesting. I mean, the roster itself is interesting, but when you have Ergin at the wheel, you're in for some entertainment.
Did you watch the
Wheel.
game when he was ejected? I mean, he was ejected one more time.
And he
during the
didn't
first
want
game
to
against
go,
Greece.
and he
Yeah.
didn't want
He
to
didn't
go
want
out.
to leave again because it's so hard to move Ataman out of the court. And he actually didn't leave the court. He just, sat next on the side of the bench, like with the VAP fans of Turkish team.
And you know what Ergin Ataman being at the EuroBasket also means? You're going to have some of his impressions in our podcast.
Let's go.
I actually forgot that. That's amazing.
Can we have one now?
I think it's too early.
That's a preparation stage, yeah. So.
It's too early.
Ritis himself is in the preseason.
Yeah, still the preseason mode, but I'm getting close to my best shape.
Can you imagine Ergin's ego if he wins a medal or even the gold medal? I mean, he has to be the NBA
The man
coach then.
would be ruling the European basketball. He should be named the emperor
Exactly.
of European basketball.
It won't be possible to talk to him anymore. At least on it has to be on a presidential level or something like that. Yeah, so shout out to
Okay, number 5, Turkey. We all agree on that.
So number 4.
Now we have the
guys.
top 4. We have the same 4 teams, but it's interesting to hear from you guys how you rank
The
them.
order.
Yeah, the order. So number 4, what do you have?
I changed my mind a couple of times going
During the
between-
podcast, you mean? Or
No,
before the
before,
podcast?
before. Because we still haven't talked about it. So maybe now if we
Yeah.
talk and then I was like, okay, your arguments are nice. And then I'm changing my mind. But I have Greece at number 4. And Giannis with Dimitris Sidouris together is already a lock for the top 4 in my eyes. And it's not going to be the same tournament. It's not going to be the same tragic tournament that they had in the World Cup where they didn't go through the second round 3 years ago. Giannis is a much better player than he was 3 years ago. He added some mid-range game. He added somewhat a three-point shot. Not high.
Plays smarter.
He plays smarter, and you have Dimitris Sidouris because 3 years ago I made a video for the channel a couple of weeks ago. So I rewatched all of their games in the World Cup, and it was just Giannis playing hero ball from the perimeter, where he was when he still didn't have a jump shot, when he was where he was least efficient, and there was
Offensive foul all the
idea.
time.
Yeah, some of the calls were questionable, let's say. Yeah, but they were simply not playing to his strengths, and I already see from only 2 friendlies that Giannis played until now.
Yeah.
They're using him completely different. So there's going to be like 3, let's say, main areas. They want to get him the ball as close to the rim where he can just, it's a foul or it's a dunk. Then they play him as a screener, which I really enjoy because then there's also a possibility for him catching the ball near the rim, but also the gravity when he's rolling opens up, or the possibility for the ball handler to go until the rim, or a lot of kickouts. And Itoudis wants him on the left block in the post, where he plays usually in the NBA. And also playing pick and roll with Dorsey. So you have 2 probably the most dangerous players on their team playing together, and the opponents have to just pick their poison. Who are you going to risk on? What are you going to do? And so far in 2 games, Giannis has made 4 3-pointers on 7. I know it's a small sample size and we shouldn't be overexcited, but he made all of those 4 3-pointers were after the dribble pull-up threes, which is, I was watching at these 3-pointers and I was like, okay, this is scary, guys. What are you going to do against?
The 3-point line is a little bit closer in Europe.
That also helps.
Maybe it benefits
Maybe.
him.
But I know it's only 4 from 7 and it's only 2 games, but if he hits these shots, they can go even to win the gold medal. But that's at the same time the biggest question about this team. Can his jump shot hold throughout the tournament?
I think an even bigger question is not the 3-point percentage, but the free throw percentage. If he can keep it up 75%.
Around 70, yeah.
Yeah, during the whole tournament, the other teams would not have the pleasure of fouling Giannis Antetokounmpo every time when he's closer to the rim. Because if he's shooting like in 60s or under 60 even,
No, that's good. Foul him.
for other teams it's great.
Yeah.
Because also you have Kalaitis on the court. You can foul him as well. You can hack him. He's also a very poor free throw shooter, and he's not a good 3-point shooter, which helps you on defense because you can pack the paint all the time.
Yeah.
And there's no 3 seconds on defense in FIBA.
In FIBA.
So it's different. You just put a big body there. But I have Greece at number 3. I have them higher. First of all, it's a great point from you about the Giannis being the screener. I think this is when Milwaukee Bucks started having more success, when they started using him more as a screener than the ball handler. And Middleton, Holiday were the guys having the ball in their hands more often. And in FIBA basketball, it should also work. Itoudis has a very, very big basketball brain.
He's one of the best coaches in Europe.
He knows how to put players in their best positions. If you watch Itoudis and his SKA, they were not running too many sets. It was all about the spacing and putting the players in their right positions. And searching for mismatches. You will obviously have some mismatches with the team you have right now. So it makes me also a big believer in this team, because in 2019, I was in China. I was watching one of their games, and I saw a lineup with Borusis, Printezis, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. And I thought to myself...
And Nicolaitis.
Probably, or Slukas, I don't remember. But, I mean, it was Borusis, Printezis, and Giannis. And I thought to myself, why? Why in the world would you do that when you have Giannis? And now with the proper coach, I think they can find a winning formula and win a medal.
But can they find enough shooters around Giannis? I mean, when you kind of, you will have to use Kalaitis.
Dorsey helps him a lot.
Helps him a lot already.
Slukas, it's great. But I mean, I'm talking about forwards. Papa Nicolau was shooting threes like... I mean, he's very inconsistent. You remember his numbers in 2019. I think it was like something between 10 or 20%. He's that inconsistent. And even Borusis, he sounds bad, but now we have Papagiannis and Kostas Antetokounmpo.
But let's not forget about one thing. We're just talking about shooting, about scoring.
Yeah.
Defense.
This team can lock up
their
anyone.
Potential on defense is just enormous. Giannis can guard anybody. If you have Giannis, you're already a good defensive team. But next to him, you have Nick Kalaitis as a tall point guard, a physical point guard. You have Tyler Dorsey, who is very good defending on ball. And Kostas Papanikolaou at third position. He's a fighter. He's a warrior. So on defense, this team, you're going into a quarterfinal with the mentality that you're going to win by grinding and fighting on the court. And Giannis is a coachable superstar. He's willing to sacrifice himself for the team. He's willing to sacrifice his numbers. He doesn't care about the numbers. He doesn't care about the stat sheet. He just wants to win. So with this mentality, being led by Dimitris Itoudis, I have them in my medals section. I have the number 3 in the power rankings. And I think we're going to see the best of Giannis so far in the FIBA tournaments.
The reason I have them as my 4th pick is that Giannis played only 2 games. I mean, Giannis as itself, he requires some preparation, some adjustments around himself, especially for FIBA basketball. These guys didn't play together for a while. I mean, that's a big job for Itoudis to make all these pieces click, especially with Giannis, who requires a lot of things around him. He played only in 2 games, and I know that there's a hot topic in Greek national team, this, Milwaukee Bucks impact on the team, because some say that they kind of control Giannis in terms of when he's going to play friendly game and when not.
Coach Bud is there all the time.
He's there all the time.
The assistant coach
as
is
well.
In the
and sometimes
Josh Oppenheimer.
they kind of, get informed about his availability just like almost before the game. So it hurts. It also hurts the fact that Papagiannis missed the entire preparation stage. He should play in the EuroBasket, but it's like getting into shape during the group stage. And we're talking about another guy who's not playing with the team. He's not preparing for the EuroBasket. Papa Petro's situation is also unclear. So there are a lot of all these issues with some players being in and out, with Giannis playing less than half of the preparation games, all these concerns about shooters around. That's why I put Greece in 4, because when we're talking about this big 4, we're talking about the perfectionists, and we're seeking for that perfectionist. So there are some glimpses around Greek national team.
But the good thing, and I believe you will agree with me, is that Giannis Antetokounmpo has such a great personality.
Yeah.
His character, his work ethics, he's a super professional. He's a coach's dream, honestly, because sometimes you have star players with amazing skills, but with huge egos as well. And Giannis never puts himself over the team.
I think he's the best role model among these NBA superstars in terms of work ethics, the approach, the way he tries to involve other guys. And even though Milwaukee has some preferences towards his availability for some games, maybe practices, but his work ethics, his example in the locker room, no concerns, no complaints at all from what I hear. So he's the leader to follow. And, we already mentioned all these tactical adjustments they will need to make, but when you have Dimitris Itoudis, you can trust the guy. So we'll see if he will figure out the medal formula, at least.
So I'm sorry, Greece is number 3 for me, number 4 for you.
Yeah, number 4.
So what do you have for the
just to finish off on Greece, just adding 2 points.
Yeah.
One thing I didn't like in those 2 games that Giannis played, the refs in Greece. They were just... every time he missed a layup or he was about to miss a layup, it was a foul. In situations where, you're not going to get these calls in the EuroBasket. And so this was one thing I didn't really like about their preparation and on those 2 games, because it's not going to be that easy in the EuroBasket. And the second one is why I put them in the 4th as well, is because you have Jokic, Luka, and Giannis as the 3 main superstars of this tournament.
Yeah.
And the FIBA rules and the FIBA game takes away the most from Giannis's game comparing to Luka and to Jokic, in my opinion. Like Luka, I would even say he's even more better, more dangerous playing by the FIBA rules.
Yeah, he is.
Giannis, Jokic is maybe the smaller court and the shorter 3-point line maybe takes away a bit of his passing, just maybe a little bit. But for Giannis, this is where things get much harder in my eyes. And this is why I have them at number 4 as well.
So
One more reason.
I just have them at number 3 because I believe they will be the best defensive team in the tournament.
And who do you have?
I have
in the
Serbia
number
4.
Ah, okay.
Have Serbia number 4. Some could say that's because of Coach Pesic, and that's just part of it. I don't think that Pesic is going to destroy the team in any way, even though the move with Teodosic was interesting, let's say.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I found some amazing, tremendous article about Pesic. The last time Serbia, or let's say former Yugoslavia, won the gold in any FIBA competition was 2002 World Cup. And once I was getting ready for interview with Pesic, and I kind of had this storyline, to jump on from the fact that Pesic was the coach in 2002. Now he's back. I was surprised by this decision because, we're talking about the whole different generation of Serbian players with Jokic, Misic, freestyle basketball, a lot of creativity, and now you put Pesic, coach, who's a system as itself. And I found this article by Mark Stein from ESPN, 2002, September 7, and these are some shocking lines. I mean, this is the team which won the gold in World Cup, which is already a big thing. And I mean, there are some stories like, for example, Pesic during the game, he sent off Vladimir Radmanovic, the legendary Seattle Supersonics forward, off the bench
legendary
to the
is
stands.
a very generous word.
He's legendary maybe in Serbian national team.
Or NBA Live, because he had a 3-point shooting badge.
I had him on my teams a lot. So he was banished from the bench after halftime, spat with his coach. And during the game, when he was sent to the stands near the media tribune, he was also taking pictures with fans, eating popcorns. He also had accepted some phone calls during the game and like clutch moments of the 4th quarter. It was also said that the security guy of Yugoslavia's team bus once just left the bus in the middle of the street because he didn't want to hear all these conflicts and player and coach shouting at each other anymore. I mean, even Vlade Divac throws some stories that he almost regretted coming back to the national team, and he's done after this World Cup.
Actually, not so long ago during the pandemic, when we were in a lockdown, I rewatched the final, Yugoslavia against Argentina.
Uh-huh.
So many legendary players, but the basketball was so different 20 years ago. And yeah, it's a great article. You should send me the link. I will definitely read it.
I just posted it in the comments for everyone to
read.
I'll
just post it in the comments. But anyways, getting back to Serbia now in 2022, again coached by Pesic. I mean, if they had Bogdan Bogdanovic on the roster,
that's my first. That's my first.
I would have
line.
them ranked at number 2 probably.
Maybe
even number one. Maybe even number one.
Right now, number 1 is Nemanja Bjelica. They were missing Nemanja Bjelica from becoming number 1.
If he doesn't play, then definitely have them as number 4 without question. I mean, Jokic and Micic, you have the NBA MVP and the EuroLeague MVP. It's mind-blowing.
The best 1-2 punch.
It's really mind-blowing, and they're going to go far. Definitely they should be, and they will be in the semifinals. Whether Pesic is hard on them or not, they're going to do their thing. But it's just that I thought to myself, who I want to have in one single knockout game right now, who would I rather have, Giannis or Jokic? And I agree with everything you said about the FIBA rules. But just for the defensive presence, I'm going with Giannis, which means I'm going with Greece. But the Serbian team, would it surprise me if they win the gold? Fuck no. Of course not.
No.
They can win the gold. Micic with Jokic, they should enjoy playing with each other. I mean, they played with each other in China 2019, but those were different circumstances. I believe Micic was overcoming some tragic events that happened in his personal life or something like that. His mind was really not there. And Jokic was still struggling a little bit. He was not in a very good physical shape. Right now we see him...
Completely different physical-wise.
Completely different. And I mean, I have no concerns about these two guys performing. It's just about what the others can give to the team. So with Bogdan Bogdanovic, there wouldn't be any questions. Right now, Bogdan's not playing. You still have some doubts whether Lucic, will he be able to contribute enough? And everybody else, the backup players, also the bench.
I don't have doubts about Lucic, Kalinic. I mean, I think that these are great forwards, but I have doubts about them just being consistent as a team and building the chemistry, because
like the other guards, who's going to help Micic?
Yeah, and we thought that Marko Guduric might be that secondary ball handler. He's not playing for the team. He's injured. Nemanja Nedovic, he's in and out. He's also injured. He might miss the upcoming games. He might come back, but I mean, there are too many question marks. Nemanja Bjelica, he could be another playmaker on that team. And you can imagine Nikola Jokic, Micic, and Nemanja Bjelica. I mean, these three players are like point guards, basically. So, but they're missing so many players. They're inconsistent with their preparation so far. And I think that is an issue. Again, when you're looking for that perfection, it's a problem for them. And, you know, as you mentioned, it's a great talent on the court, but still we didn't see them winning together. So it's another topic if they can, you know, can come together for the gold, for example, because everything else went gold. I think it's kind of failure.
Correct me if
Serbia.
I'm wrong, but in 2017, when they reached the final and they lost to Slovenia, they were obviously led by Bogdan Bogdanovic, but Micic was the main point guard even before he was the EuroLeague MVP or something like that. He was there on the team.
He was in a rotation of three guards, I think. But I think that Markovic or Jovic, maybe was the main point guard.
Maybe Jovic, right?
Boban Marjanovic was a center.
They had guys like Machvan with big roles in that team, and they still went to the final.
Machvan was like scored like 19 or 20 points, I think, in the final.
Oh yeah,
okay.
He was one of their go-to guys actually. Now this team is so much different.
Micic played 18 minutes in that final, and Stevan Jovic played 14, but he was starting.
So anyway, Micic at that time was just a EuroLeague's role player.
Yeah,
right now he's actually 5 years later he's the MVP.
Yeah,
he had in the tournament he had 2.4 points average.
Now he's the best
top
point
5
guard
player
playing in Europe.
13 minutes on court on average, field goal 33% from the field.
And you just didn't see it in him that he's gonna rise so high.
Wait, what? This was 5 years ago.
5 years ago.
So
before he moved to Kaunas.
Yeah.
Right. So okay, number 4, Serbia for me.
I had Greece at 4.
Yeah, Greece 4, Serbia 3.
And you have Serbia.
I had Serbia 2.
So your third team is France?
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about France.
I think they're a bit under the radar for this tournament, actually. I don't know why, maybe because they also have a lot of, let's say, new faces, but last year they went to the final of the Olympics and...
they were competing in the final, they were just...
Exactly.
They weren't just there, they were competing for the gold medal.
They beat the USA in the group stage, and it wasn't a surprise. Obviously, that team of the USA wasn't with the, let's say, best players that could possibly come to play for the United States, but you have Gobert, you have Poirier, Yebuzele, Fournier, you have Elia Kobo, you have Thomas Huertel, and
Luka Bao, I would say.
Luka Bao also.
He was great in
that
Olympics.
Great. He had a great tournament in Tokyo.
This is 7 players.
This is the most complete and packed team, I would say.
I would love to see Nicolas Batum with them, with this crew still. It's a shame he's not going to be in this EuroBasket. In the Kolos case, I'm quite confident that Okobo can take that role and be the second ball handler next to Evan Fournier. I don't have a problem with that.
No.
He showed last season in EuroLeague that he's not afraid of any challenges or whatever.
And you talked about Greece's potential on defense.
Yeah.
France is at the same level, if not even better. Like Rudy Gobert, you cannot expose him as you can in the NBA playoffs maybe, and he has better defensive players around him. He can just stand in the paint all the time, all the possession if he wants. And Gershon Yabusele at the 4 had an amazing season at Real Madrid.
You have Fournier as a backup and also
As a
Foul.
backup.
When Boris
played-
Diaw retired, you didn't think you're going to have another power forward like this in the French national team.
They're similar, stature
Body shape,
wise. I don't know how to say that, but
You're trying to be polite.
I'm trying.
I know what you're trying to say.
but that's actually his body shape is actually an advantage.
Yeah,
of his.
he has a lot of power.
He has a lot of power and he is quick with it.
Yeah.
So it's only an advantage for him. So and I think they are really extremely well matched against Greece. If they play in the semifinal, they are extremely well matched, especially on the defensive side and against Giannis. So this is why I have them at 3, but with the list we are making after this in the bracket, I see them winning silver medal.
I see them winning gold, actually. That's my prediction for the tournament. But in the power ranking system, I have them ranked second.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I think that if Okobo is ready to step up into De Colo's role, Luvavu Cabarro is ready to step up into Batum's role, and the team is balanced. It's still...
The cycle is done. Let's say all the legends went away. We have new ones, and you have a really solid
They're still
team.
stacked.
They're still stacked, yeah.
Some players are missing, like Nilikina. They could have an even better roster. I agree with that. But in every position, they have different options, the way they want to play. The coach has been there for more than 10 years?
From 2009.
So it's 13 years, right? So they have more or less the same system.
They didn't have any struggles during the preparation. No injuries or something.
A very consistent team that they very rarely have bad tournaments. Like only 2017, I remember when they lost to Germany, it was a really bad tournament for them. But other than that,
I see this as, let's say, not a positive side.
Extra motivation.
You finished 12th, and for France, this is a failure.
Yeah.
So now you kind of want to prove yourself wrong. I know they were really good at the World Cup. I know they got silver in the Olympics.
Yeah.
But the last EuroBasket they played, they finished 12th. So I think this is extra motivation for them and for these new players to prove that they can win EuroBasket.
You know what I love about France? The way Evan Fournier came out of Tony Parker's shadow. I remember EuroBasket 2015. It was in France, actually, in Lille, I believe.
In the football stadium.
Parker was still playing, De Colo was playing, and Fournier was averaging 2 points per game, even though in Orlando, he was already averaging 16 or 18 points.
Something like that.
But he was just stuck in the Tony Parker shadow. In Rio Olympics, it was the same. He just couldn't perform. And ever since Tony Parker retired, Fournier got the ball in his hands. He started playing all the pick and rolls, and we saw him as the unstoppable scorer in FIBA basketball, the 2019 World Cup, the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. He's just dominating games. He can shoot, he can drive, he can pass alley-oops to Gobert and everything. So that's what I love the most about this team, the continuity. Fournier was there with Parker, but he didn't have the role. He was patient. Parker retired. Now Fournier is the guy. And of course, talking about Gobert, there are no defensive 3 seconds here.
Yeah.
He can work in different defensive schemes. What I want to see in this tournament, one of my biggest expectations, Jokic, Gobert in FIBA rules. Because in NBA,
it's different.
It's different. And Jokic usually
wins.
I remember that conversation. Yeah, I remember that conversation.
I'm not only that he's the better player, but I mean when Utah Jazz face the Denver Nuggets, usually Jokic has great performances. But in FIBA rules, it might be different. You don't know. So I would love to see Serbia, France, maybe in the semifinal or in the final. Who knows? But for me, France is number 2.
Yeah, I also have France as number 2. I actually had them as my number 1 option, but in the last minute, I kind of changed my mind because I took Slovenia.
Because you have to go with Luka.
I mean, it's funny because
You
I
can't
see
bet
this
against Luka
draft,
Doncic.
and at my first ranking, Slovenia was like third. But the more I thought about it, I was like, I mean, they were already amazing last year, and now they have Goran Dragic on top of that. Because, you know, when Luka Doncic was benched or he got early in the foul trouble, Slovenia was in trouble. Although let's say, other guys, they really stepped up all the time. I mean, they were overachieving even playing without Luka. But now you have Goran Dragic as your life insurance, and he is great, and the combination of Robin and Batman is also amazing. Because I think that the best thing about Goran Dragic returning to the team is that last year in the crucial games, starting from semifinals, I think that Slovenia just lost their heads. Especially Luka was so emotional, mostly with refereeing. And just facing all these difficulties, he just lost his mind. And, you know, Goran Dragic is the most experienced guy on this group. And not only his scoring abilities, not only his ball handling and taking some pressure off of Luka, but also his experience, his maturity will help Slovenians a lot, you know, to finish the tournament on the highest note. And yeah, since Nicola Batum is off, I mean, nobody's gonna block Prepelic. So they will be the best. Easy.
This is, for me, the best possible offensive team that you can have around a superstar like Luka Doncic. You have not prime Dragic, let's say, but he is still extremely good as the second option. So you have two creators, and then you have everyone on that team can shoot the ball. Mike Tobey is not as good as Anthony Randolph is, but Mike Tobey is a perfect fit at the 5 for the Slovenia team. Yes, their problem is going to be the defense, but this team can simply outscore anyone in this tournament. And you can see that from the friendly games. They're scoring around 100 points basically for every game. And they're not playing the usual minutes they will be playing in the tournament. But when you have Prepelic, Blažić, Muric, Cancar probably is going to have amazing tournament.
Luka Doncic makes everyone so much better around him that when Cancar's playing for Slovenia, you're thinking, why is this guy not getting any minutes in the NBA?
Yeah, could be a role player easily.
Yeah. I mean, there's not much more to say about Slovenia and their huge potential. It's just that when they play, they make the FIBA game look more similar to the NBA. When you look at the stat sheet,
smooth.
The number of possessions they had, it looks like they played 48 minutes. It looks like the FIBA's court is actually wider than it is. The spacing is perfect.
But because Luka is playing in his mind, the line is further away. Like against Turkey or I think it was against Turkey. He was stepping back from 1 meter away from the line, so he shot 2 meters away from the line. And the defender was simply not expecting that. And what can you just do against, or when he's posting up, just shooting turnarounds, fading away.
They can outscore everybody. That's for sure. And when you said the point about their defense, I agree 100%. It's just the only problem that in certain situations, if some of these guys get in foul trouble, there might be some obstacles, really. I mean, for example, Mike Tobey, he's a guy that usually gets a lot of fouls when he plays in the EuroLeague or in the EuroCup. I think he was averaging like 3 fouls per game playing 16 minutes. So playing against centers like Valanciunas and others, he might get into foul trouble. Then you have to go with the small lineup. It could work. I'm not saying anything. I mean, you're playing with Luka Doncic and Goran Dragic. It did work
in 2017. Žiga Dimec was...
It did work. Yep, it did work last year in the Olympic qualifying tournament when the coach had to make some decisions with Edo Muric, I believe, as the number 5. Anyways, sometimes even Luka Doncic himself might get in a foul trouble and discussions with the referees that are really unnecessary.
This is the part.
He burned out in the Olympics. Why they lost the bronze medal game? Luka was out of gas. And he started fighting the refs. He stopped playing. And that's it.
He's in much better shape, I think, right now.
He is.
But the part with the refs is the tricky one. And I think that could decide if they go back-to-back or not. His talks.
You mean his emotions?
His emotions.
Controlling the emotions.
He didn't learn the lesson because his number of technical fouls he received last year in the NBA even increased compared to the 2 years ago. At the same time, we can think about the referees in the EuroBasket. It's something closer to Luka's game when, playing in the Olympics or World Cups, where you can get referees from South America, from Africa.
Still, man,
with different mentality.
I don't trust these referees.
Of course.
There are no EuroLeague referees
but still,
here.
there's a little margin that might help for Luka in this
Maybe,
case.
but watching the FIBA qualifiers, I'm sorry, I have a lot of questions about the quality of the refereeing. And the EuroLeague refs are great. They are respected. We see them every week in these big games, and they just handle everything. I mean, Ataman gets technicals, okay, but that's on him. But these FIBA refs, I'm not so sure about their quality, and there might be some problems in
most
this
important
case.
thing is that Luka doesn't need to think about this thing, about refs. I mean,
He doesn't need to, but he
But he
usually
does.
does.
yeah, and that's why Goran Dragic will help a lot. I mean, I'm
I hope
sure
so.
that he will help him to cool off a bit.
We sound like we're from Slovenia, guys. Like we're rooting for
was
Slovenia.
I'm not
Yeah,
going
rooting for
against them.
Slovenia
I'm not
last
saying.
year, yeah.
I mean, in 2017, that was my first EuroBasket as a TV commentator. Lithuania lost in the 8 finals.
You wanted Slovenia to
So
win.
what's left?
The fairy tale story.
Following the fairy tale stories, Slovenia. Doncic was a teenager. Dragic was, at the moment, it seemed playing his last tournament for the team.
And he ended the game playing through injury,
Doncic
right?
got hurt.
Didn't finish
Doncic
the game.
Start, yeah.
Doncic didn't play in the second half, I believe.
Yeah.
He got hurt
Beginning of the third?
3 minutes into the third quarter.
Yeah, something like that.
Ankle injury.
Yeah, and Dragic just led the team. That tournament was...
But Dragic didn't play for the last 4 minutes.
Yes, exactly.
And it was a close game. He got cramps in his leg,
Yep.
left for the bench, and then was like, okay,
Prepelic,
go do
what
your
a
job.
tournament
And
he
he's
had.
like, okay, let me go with my inner Luka Doncic or Dragic at that tournament and just
What a tournament Prepelic
That was
had.
amazing.
After that tournament,
He signed with Real
Real
Madrid, I
Madrid
think.
gave
Yeah.
him the contract. Yeah, so it was nice to follow them in 2017. Now it's different because in 2017, I wasn't predicting any medal. I mean, I knew how great Luka Doncic was and how great he's going to be. Dragic is there. I'm still thinking they're playing Spain in the semis. Gasol, Ricky Rubio. I mean, Spain's going to win. Spain were the favorites for the for the championship. And all of a sudden, Slovenia, bam, they have the gold medal. But right now, they're going into this tournament and people are expecting them to win the gold medal. Everybody has them number one in their power rankings. Everybody that I'm talking to in Lithuania, at least.
and
But I don't think that they have and feel any pressure. I mean, they were
Luka
here
is
in
not
Lithuania. I mean, every night after every game,
never
he was
feeling
just
any pressure.
enjoying hookah with his teammates, some beer and stuff. I mean, there's so much joy around this team, and that's why I think that Goran Dragic also returned to this team, because he was about to retire in that World Qualifiers game that was played in Slovenia. The plan was that he was about to retire in front of the home crowd, but he felt so much joy. He felt so good right there. Of course, people like Rašo Nesterović, who's the Secretary General of the Slovenian Federation, helped a lot. Some other people also convinced him to come back. But I mean, the chemistry of this group is special, and it seems like they're not chasing medals. They're just enjoying every game they have. And I mean,
But Doncic just said himself, there's no. I mean, there's only one place.
Of course, but they don't care
we
about
accept it's number
any
one.
pressure. So I
Yeah.
really don't. I think that's the only team that is not going to be hit by pressure.
The funny
or
thing
things
with
around.
Slovenia to me is that basketball in Slovenia is actually dead. There's no club basketball there. They don't have a club in the EuroLeague. They don't have a club in the Eurocup, I believe. No,
they have this
mixed with
yeah.
Cedevita, right? They don't really look great on youth level. They just have a superstar player that grew up in Spain playing for Madrid. They have an American they picked up. They have a veteran that came back. And good role players that fit. But the actual basketball system in Slovenia doesn't seem to be working that well. But the national team is the favorites.
But they're producing good backcourt players, especially shooters. No, I was thinking like we should bring something from
Well,
Slovenia
imagine
to
those
Lithuania.
shooters playing not with Luka Doncic. Are they any better than the shooters we have in the Lithuanian team?
I don't know, man.
They're not that much.
Prepelic,
I mean,
Chanchar,
there's not-
I mean, Blažić, they're good. I think they're good.
So change them with Grigonis, Giedraitis, and
Brazdeikis.
Benjus or Brazdeikis. Is
no,
there
you
any
cannot
difference?
compare Chanchar to Benjus or anybody. You know, he's a great player. But I mean,
Come
you
on,
can
man.
take
I mean,
out.
he's a good player, but it's
No,
not like
Chanchar
he's
is
something-
great. He was about to get 1 million from Maccabi Tel Aviv this summer. I mean, he's good.
A lot
he's
of
really
players
good.
get
As a
1 million
stretch
from
four.
Maccabi Tel Aviv. That's
Yeah,
not
he's a
an
great
argument.
stretch four to EuroLeague basketball. You cannot compare him Benjus.
Oh
No,
my
I'm not
God.
saying
No
Benjus is
chance.
better, but I'm just saying that like for like, you put these players and switch them, and you would be talking that Lithuania is just.
But you cannot expect a lot from the country, which has how many people? Less than 2 million, I think. They don't
I
have
think around 2 million.
big investors, so they cannot bring a good basketball club,
But we
rich
expect a
basketball
lot from
club.
Lithuania.
Because we have this tradition. I don't know. Maybe that's
They
why.
also have the tradition.
It's different. It's
Olympia
different.
Ljubljana was once in the Final Four.
But they don't have any
Sharas.
money, really. We don't have money as well, but still, 10 million, 5 million.
I'm
there's a
just saying
difference.
that how unpredictable things might happen.
Mm.
You can plan, you can put strategies on the table, but you never know where the next genius is going to come from.
Of
And it
course.
just happened to be a Slovenian guy who grew up in Madrid system, and he just loves playing for the national team, because you might not be so lucky. Your superstar player might not be interested in the national team at all, couldn't be faced. We have examples from the past when players just don't want to play in their summers, and that's it. So,
But
yeah.
Actually, basically, if you took any superstar player, exceptional talent player like Giannis, I mean, maybe he was supposed to play for Nigeria. The way he ended up playing basketball in Greece is also tremendous. His story is no. He came out of nowhere. Nikola Jokic. He just wanted to end up playing
Yeah,
basketball.
but you just cannot compare Greece and their basketball with Slovenia and
you're
Serbia.
talking about the
I mean,
basketball system, right?
Yeah, the clubs and everything.
Yeah.
So these players come from somewhere, and obviously it helps when you choose a good American for your
Yeah,
team,
that's true.
which they do, Slovenians, I mean. Yeah, anyway, so we had this really extended conversation about our power rankings. What's left, Donatas?
Predicting our
Predictions.
top four.
I
So
got
this is
lost
where
in
we-
those brackets, honestly. They are so confusing to me. I'm sorry.
It took some time, yeah, to check the rules.
Oh.
But I mean, I think it changed the power rankings kind of dramatically, because we have to leave one of the top four teams outside the top four, unless somebody will fail in the group stage and it comes in their favor for the bracket for the playoffs.
Right now, we're just playing the bracket challenge.
Bracket challenge. There's a term called bracketology, like a science for this whole thing, where you're very good at putting teams into brackets. Anyway, do we start from number 4?
4.
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
We all have Turkey.
I have
here?
Turkey.
I have Turkey as well.
I have to go with Turkey as well. Probably the way this system is set.
Yeah, because I have them first in my group, which means that they're
Yeah,
facing
me
fourth
too.
team of B4 of B, which probably will be Germany, Bosnia, Herzegovina. Doesn't matter. I think that Turkey will advance, and they might face Croatia or Italy. And I just think that Turkey is a better team than both of these national teams. So I see them in the semifinals.
Yeah, I see them as.
And just
4.
because I see France and Greece clashing in quarterfinals, that's why one of these teams will be left out. That's a sad part. Yeah. Unless somebody will start to fail.
So,
Greece, maybe.
bronze medal for you.
Okay, bronze medal.
Wait. Just imagine if Slovenia is second in the group, like after France, and we get Slovenia versus Greece in the.
And we can't rule this out.
quarterfinal.
Yeah.
We cannot rule it.
For some
rule
reason,
it
we
out.
locked
No.
them as a first seed, but, France can
That
easily
would
beat
be-
them in the group
That would
stage.
be a crazy quarterfinal.
Yeah. Oof.
All these scenarios just make me think about it. Like I
Even
have
more.
I have Greece in my power rankings higher than Serbia, but I don't have Greece in my medals.
Actually,
Probably then, because that's how it works. If they're
Because you
facing
have France.
I have France winning the gold. I have Slovenia winning silver, because they're going to be in the same group. So if Slovenia finishes first or France finishes first, the other finishes second. They don't see each other until the final. So I have the final France versus Slovenia, and I have France
Same.
winning it.
I have Slovenia winning it.
Yeah, and then the tricky part is predicting the bronze medal.
Serbia.
So yeah, I have to say Serbia, but I think to me Greece is the better team. But since they're gonna face like France or Slovenia in the quarterfinals, I have to eliminate them, and blah blah blah, and this prediction thing just makes me angry. I would.
That's why we did
the power ranking. That part was more fun. I must admit.
So we have almost the same 4, right?
Only that I have France winning.
Yeah. Okay.
So what?
Who you have winning though?
Slovenia. I'm all for Slovenia.
So Slovenia, France,
rode their
Serbia,
bandwagon. Slovenia,
Turkey.
France, Serbia, Turkey. Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
That's it, right? It was easy.
All of us must admit that any of the 4, Greece,
Oh,
Serbia,
no.
Slovenia, France, becoming champions wouldn't be
No,
a surprise.
Exactly.
Not at all.
You can
We're
see it
just
happening.
playing media games, trying to rank somebody,
We are-
trying to find the best of already
Yeah.
bests. So it's
Maybe put some controversies. you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
But
To make some fans angry.
in general, I mean, we're approaching a EuroBasket where we will have 2 fresh NBA MVPs, EuroLeague's MVP, a soon-to-be NBA MVP
Next
in Luka
season.
Doncic. Maybe that's
3
very
all
possible.
NBA first team members. That's the first
2
time since
NBA defensive
2012.
players of the year, like Giannis and Gobert, and so many solid EuroLeague and NBA players that I didn't even mention yet. So I don't know if we ever had that much quality in a EuroBasket.
It could be our, the recency bias.
I mean, 2011 was special, right? Because it was before the Olympics. Dirk Nowitzki came after winning the NBA. France had their full roster. Spain had their full roster.
And you could still you could still qualify to the Olympics through the EuroBasket.
How? If you're the champions? How does that work?
I think.
I mean, in 2011.
Yeah.
Yeah, in 2011, that was the system. That's why everybody went to the
Exactly
2011 and everybody skipped 2009.
Yeah.
So
now
yeah.
I think nobody.
You don't qualify anywhere.
qualify.
You just become
No,
European
yeah.
champions. But the thing is that now the EuroBasket is every 4 years. So you have very limited opportunities to win this title. The pandemic just pushed everything 1 year.
1 year.
The Olympics, now the EuroBasket. So the next one is in 2025. But the thing is that now it's more like in football, where the players will have one summer off, where they don't have any duties for the national team, because you play the World Cup and the EuroBasket every 2 years. So that's great. I think that's great. I mean, the Olympics, it's a dream for many, but not too many qualify. So you can focus on the EuroBasket and just becoming the European champion.
And just shows how the NBA game evolved, how it became international.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, 3 players in the EuroBasket are probably in the top 5 or top 6 of NBA players right now.
Yeah,
Giannis is probably the best NBA player right now, in my opinion. If we're talking about the NBA rules and the way the game is set there. So, what an event.
The last time we
What
had
an event.
Can't wait
EuroBasket,
for
I think that Luka didn't even have the driver's license. As crazy as it sounds.
But he was probably driving, he just didn't have the license.
We had such examples like Jonas Valanciunas. Yeah, there were some. This
man.
tournament could be even better. We are missing some great players. For example, if Serbia only had Teodosic, Bogdanovic, even Marjanovic, for example.
Just Coach
Guys, I was about to say, we were talking about Serbia, and you mentioned, so they are kind of missing, Bogdanovic is not there,
Bjelica is questionable.
Bjelica is questionable, and I was like, I didn't say it because you were giving your argument, but I was like, so wait, guys, are you telling me right now that Teodosic would be nice for Serbia?
As a backup, actually, he would.
Yeah,
he would. Yeah.
I think there's at least one person in this world that disagrees with you and thinks that he's not needed at all anyway.
And
but on that list of players not participating, I have Ricky Rubio, I have Nikola Vucevic. He could make Montenegro a pretty exciting team as an underdog.
List of all these German players.
All these German players.
Wagner, Kleber, Hartenstein, Bonga, Schroeder had injury, even France, Nilikina, De Colo, Batum, Wembanyama, future star, more.
Wembanyama, I don't think
he's
ready.
No. In the upcoming years, he will be.
EuroBasket.
Yeah, Ricky Rubio, Spain. I mean,
it
could be even more talent. And so the last thing about Coach Pesic. So Radmanovic and Pesic.
You're still stuck with Pesic.
A screamer who makes Bob Knight seem hushed, have clashed repeatedly over playing time, largely because Radmanovic doesn't get much. Peja Drobniak, the ever supersonic on the team, doesn't get much more time, with Pesic apparently determined to prove that Yugoslavia's non-NBA players are as good as the NBAers. Yeah.
Well, I think there was at least one non-NBA player who was just as good as definitely Dejan Bodroga.
Mr. Shamdog, the real Shamdog. Shamgod.
Shamgod.
Yeah.
But that 2002 roster was pretty special. Even with all these conflicts, they still managed to win a trophy. Anyway,
okay, guys.
I think it was a pretty long podcast this time because we tried to cover so much.
It was okay, 1.5, I think. But yeah, we have only 2 podcasts remaining, including this one before the EuroBasket. The next week we will probably have EuroBasket draft. We'll try to look at the EuroBasket in some playful game and to introduce this kind of game to European audience because it's kind of popular in Lithuania, drafting players from previous historical competitions or for the upcoming competitions. So it's gonna be interesting. We should be free, or maybe we'll have guests as well. We'll see. So thanks a lot for joining in and
give us your predictions in the comments.
Yep. See you next week.